at the babies. The thought of bossing them about clearly appealed.
I can.
As soon as they are a little older. Valentine glared at Hugo as if he'd just tricked her. At almost 2, she was already showing us what it meant to have a toddler. I had no idea that a child that small could be so opinionated. But Valentine reminded me every day that she had her own ideas, and wouldn't be easily tricked. Surprisingly, only one person had the magic touch, and it wasn't either myself or Hugo.
I think Buttercup is feeling a little hungry,
Archie said, as he stopped in the doorway and glanced away in embarrassment when he saw the babies at my breasts.
I have an apple for her, but if you're not interested, I'll give it to her myself. I was on my way to the stables anyhow.
Archie shrugged his shoulders as if it were all the same to him, but Valentine went rigid in Hugo's arms, her attention suddenly focused on Archie. Buttercup was Valentine's pony, a sweet-tempered, cream-coloured creature, whose large brown eyes practically lit up when the pony beheld an apple.
Down,
Valentine ordered. Hugo put her down, and she grabbed Archie's hand as if it were a life-preserver.
Want to feed Buttercup?
All right, if you insist. Perhaps we should stop by the kitchen and get an extra apple, just in case.
Can I ride?
Valentine asked, as she gazed into Archie's eyes imploringly.
If you are good,
Archie replied non-committally, as he led Valentine away.
How does he always do that?
Hugo asked with a grin, as he watched the two of them make their way down the stairs and out the door. Valentine was as docile as a lamb with Archie, knowing that he wouldn't take any lip from her. And the promise of feeding the pony or riding for a few minutes was like catnip. Hugo was concerned that Valentine was too young to ride, but Archie just harumphed in that way he did, dismissing the idea. He was probably born in the saddle, and thought a child could be put astride before they even learned to walk. His theory seemed to apply to Valentine, who had no fear of riding, and sat with her back straight, and her feet planted in the stirrups as she rode around the small area Archie designated for a paddock. Hugo sat down next to me and watched, enraptured, as I finished feeding the babies and pulled up my shift. The babies seemed to be asleep, breathing evenly as their sparse eyelashes fanned out against their still puffy faces. I passed the boy to Hugo and held on to the girl, studying her with interest. They looked very much alike when wrapped up, their faces almost a mirror image of each other, but the girl's hair was darker, and her lips a little plumper, while the boy had a slightly higher forehead and rounder cheeks. I suppose a stranger would think them identical, but I could already tell the difference, highly aware of each child's individuality. Had I been pregnant in the 21st century, Hugo and I would have had names already picked out. But few people chose names in this time, before a child was born, for fear of tempting fate. So many children died in utero and during the birth that the parents did as little as possible to forge a bond with the baby until they were sure it had a chance of survival.
What shall we name them?
Hugo asked, as if reading my mind. Naming children in the 17th century was vastly different than in the future. Only a handful of names were popular, and they were either the names of saints or monarchs. People often name their children after whoever sat the throne, so once Mary and William were crowned, those would be the top names in the realm. Giving a child a name that was unique or cutesy was bound to cause suspicion and set the child apart. I had never been partial to Mary, and although I liked James, given what was about to happen, James wasn't a wise choice for a boy. William didn't seem to fit either. Hugo glanced over at my bundle.
What about Elena?
He asked.
I quite like that.
We can give Mary as a second name, he added, knowing that naming after a queen might help the child should she ever come to court or become a lady-in-waiting.
Elena Mary, I mused.